Do you ever feel like your life is held together with duct tape and push through? You're hitting some goals, but behind the scenes, it's pure chaos. Your brain has 17 tabs open, your to-do list never ends, and despite doing all the right things, you're always one emergency away from everything falling apart. Here's the truth. You're not a hot mess, you're under-supported. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to stop spinning and build systems to be an organized woman, my Flourish framework that is going to help you be more efficient in your life and in your business, and how to finally feel like you're running your life instead of your life running you. And I know that this life organization system that I'm going to share with you works because I've watched dozens of ambitious women go from hot mess express to that woman who has it all together using this exact system. So if you've been out here duct taping your life together and wondering why it's not working, first let me start by giving you the clarity you didn't know you needed. Back when I was working full-time as a neuropsychologist, running my business on the side as a new mom, and still trying to be a good wife, good daughter, and friend, I was in what I call now my duct tape era. I was literally holding my life together with post-it notes and sheer willpower. At this time, I felt like I always had 43 tabs open in my brain at all times. I jot things down on the back of receipts. I forget to pick things up from Target that I swore that I remember, and I tell myself I'll plan it all out tonight, but then pass out in the evening from exhaustion instead. And I wasn't lazy and I wasn't disorganized on purpose. I just didn't have a system that could hold me. So I had to hold everything. And that's when it hit me. I didn't need more motivation. I needed a better foundation. Shout out to Beyonce. A system that would support me instead of relying on me to constantly push through. See, most people think that the answer to disorganization and overwhelm is just trying harder. Like maybe if they just wake up a little bit earlier or buy a new planner or finally become more disciplined, everything is going to fall into place. But listen, the problem isn't you. The problem is you're trying to run a whole life and a whole business without a real system. So let me show you the 4 stages you're going to go through as you go from scattered and stretched thin to feeling fully supported and living in your genius zone. I call it my life optimization pyramid. And it really is akin to, it's like getting your house organized. Okay, so this first level is called duct tape and push through. And the theme of this level is survival mode. And in our metaphor, like getting your home organized, this is where you need an intervention. So this is like living in a house that is a complete mess and clutter everywhere. So think A&E hoarders where you need an intervention. So at this stage, everything's urgent, you're burned out, and even though you're doing a lot, it feels like you're getting nowhere. It feels like your life, like I said, is duct taped together and you're living on push through. And during this stage, you think the answer is pushing harder, but you're really just patching holes. So let's talk about the next level in this life organization pyramid, and that's DIY chaos. And the theme at this level are tools, but you're still a mess. So you want to be more organized, but it's still a mess. And in this analogy of getting your house organized, this is where you're like, bins, fix my life. So you can think of this as when you're in that stage of organizing your home where you bought all the home organization bins, but now they're just clutter and pretty containers. Plus you don't have the habits and the routines to maintain it. So before you know it, it's all back to a cluttered mess. Now you just have more bins as a part of that clutter. And what this looks like in being productive and being organized is you probably have 17 productivity apps, 3 planners, but no real flow. You're giving effort, but not getting traction. Basically, you have like a hodgepodge of tools and your best effort, but life is still a hot mess. You've got the desire to get it together, but you don't have any system that's really connecting all the dots, which brings us to the next level above this in our life organization pyramid. And that next level is systems and structure. And the theme of this level is you set the foundation for an organized and productive life. And in our analogy, this is where you kind of finally start to have peace in your home. So you've set the foundation for an organized and productive life. In our metaphor, you decide to make like a lifestyle change, not just flash decluttering and buying random bins and baskets. You get into the groove of systems to organize your home, and it's working. It's functional and starting to actually feel good. You are finally starting to have that home peace. So that's the metaphor of what this looks like for your whole life. At this stage, what it actually looks like for my clients when they start using systems and structures is they're finally seeing progress. So your calendar, tasks, and projects have a rhythm. You're not dropping balls anymore. You're operating from a solid structure, but it still requires you to do all the driving. By the way, this is exactly what I help my students in my Systemize My Goals Accelerator do. If you want to get on the wait list for this next round that opens in a couple of weeks, just click the link in the description. And this is not just a course. We'll be working together one-on-one to help you build the structure you need to be more focused, to be more organized, and to be more productive so that you can reach your goals 10 times faster. Okay, so let's talk about the top of this life organization pyramid. Here, you're supported in your genius zone. So you're living in your genius zone. Theme of this top of this pyramid, where I want you to get, where I'm working with my clients to get, is to be living on purpose. And in our analogy of like getting your home organized, this is like taking your home to the ultimate level and maybe creating like a smart home, the ultimate organized home. Let's think of it like that. So in our metaphor, think of this as like the stage where, in addition to your systems and structure, you have this smart home and maybe even hired help that helps support you in keeping this home organized. The lights turn on automatically, the fridge orders groceries, the house serves you. Plus you've got a gardener, a housekeeper, and a mommy helper that allow you to spend your time doing what you love most in your home, like being present with your family, decorating, and yummy self-care. So your systems and your support team carry the mental load so that you can focus on what only you can do. You have the structure and support to live in your genius zone and truly self-actualize, really, so you can live on purpose. What this looks like in real life for my clients is this is where freedom lives. You're finally operating in your genius zone, creating, leading, and resting without everything falling apart without you. So I want you to think about, where are you in this pyramid right now? Be honest with yourself. You can't systemize your life overnight, but the first step is that awareness of what level you're operating from so that you can build upward with intention. So now you know the stages you need to move through, but how do you actually get to those higher levels? That's exactly what I'm going to teach you next. So have you ever seen a teepee up close? It looks amazing. Woven fabric, beautiful design, and a sacred, really, creation. But here's the thing. It only works because of 3 long sticks tied up together at the top. No matter how gorgeous the outside of that teepee is, without those sticks, the whole thing collapses. That's what systems do. They're the quiet structure that lifts your genius off the ground. They give it shape, they give it purpose, they make it stand tall and actually work. Your ideas, your talent, your effort, that's the fabric of the teepee, but systems are those poles. And without them, your work sort of just lies flat. And with them, everything lifts into something useful, something people can walk into, something people can benefit from, and even gather inside. And you might be that colorful fabric full of genius, full of power, creativity, but without systems, you're just a brilliant blanket in the dirt. You don't need to work harder. You need better poles. You need better structure. So let's dive into my flourishing productivity system to teach you how to build this type of life organization, this type of structure for yourself. And as a disclaimer, I will be mentioning the tools I offer and use to help create these systems, but you don't have to use these exact tools. Whatever works best for you is great. If you want to build these things on your own, that's also great. I'm just going to be mentioning things that I offer to make it faster and easier for you, but you don't have to use them. Okay, let's jump in. At the center of this system, or our flower, and this flourishing productivity, if you will, is the outcome we're all craving, and that's your dream life. So I'll highlight that in the center. That's that next level of success that doesn't cost your sanity, your family, or your soul, where you're making more income, you have more time to spend with family, and you finally have time for self-care. And when you achieve this dream life with systems, which I believe to be the easiest and the most sustainable way to get there, 4 things are going to be true. First is you're going to do less and achieve more. Second thing that these systems are going to help you do to get to that dream life is build consistent productivity. The third thing that these systems are going to create for you to get that dream life is meaningful momentum. So keeping you moving forward in a meaningful way towards your goals. The next thing that you're going to create with these systems I'm going to teach you is a refined vision. So we're never at our destination. We're always becoming and enjoying the journey, and we want to refine our vision along the way. But here's the truth. You don't just drift into this dream life. You don't accidentally quantum leap into that next level of success. You design it by addressing the real obstacles that are pulling you off course. So let's look at those now. Around the outside of this flourish model are 4 core problems that I see over and over again in high achieving women. The first one is you're scattered. So you're all over the place, you're chasing shiny objects, starting too many things, and constantly shifting gears. It's exhausting. The second thing that I see over and over and over again, this is a big one, is you're overwhelmed. You're disorganized and you're juggling so much in your head that your brain feels like a browser with 52 tabs open and everything feels urgent, okay? The next one is you're depleted. You're productive until you're not. The crash cycles, the burnout, the guilt of showing up half present at home, it's all wearing you down. And then the last thing that I see over and over again, especially with women that have achieved some success, but they're trying to get to that next level, is you're stuck. So you've achieved a lot, but deep down you're feeling stagnant, like you're just going through the motions. You sense there's more for you, but you're not sure how to access that next level. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Which one of these feels most true for you right now? Let me know in the comments. Do you feel scattered, overwhelmed, depleted, stuck? Maybe it's just one, maybe it's a mix. Either way, naming it is the first step in shifting it, because inside each of these problems is a specific solution that can pull you out of that survival mode and into sustainable success. Those solutions live in the petals of this flourish productivity model. And as we walk through each petal, I'll show you the system I use with my clients to turn each of these problems into powerful momentum. You'll also have the chance to self-assess yourself in each area so you know exactly where to do the work. So let's dive into that now. So let's start with scattered. The first thing I do for my clients in my program to address this feeling scattered is to help them streamline. So this is the solution to that scattered feeling that the high achieving women that I work with sometimes carry like a badge of honor. And now the false belief here that many ambitious women hold that I've noticed is doing all the things is how I stay ahead and not let go of my passions. And it sounds noble, even productive, but in reality, it's a fast track to mediocrity and to burnout. The truth is, focus is a growth strategy. When you're scattered, you dilute your impact. You spend your energy on 100 little things that barely move the needle, when what you really need is a system that filters out the noise and anchors you to what matters most. In the streamlined petal of my flourishing productivity system, we focus on 3 powerful shifts. So the first shift is to clarify. I want you to clarify what actually matters so that you can stop chasing goals that aren't yours. The next thing I want you to do is to strategize. So here you're going to strategize how to win so you reach your goals as efficiently as possible. And then the third step that I want you to do is to plan. So you're going to reverse plan your goals using strategies from the 12-week year and achievement psychology. Okay, so this petal is going to be your goal system. So before you dive into trying to organize your life, as they say in the home organization world, you can't organize clutter. You have to start with a goal system that helps you streamline your energy and your efforts. And here's what that's looked like in my own life. There was a time in my 20s when I thought being successful meant doing everything. Every opportunity, I'd say yes. Every idea, I'd chase it. I had a planner so full that it actually gave me anxiety just looking at it. And for a while, I thought it made me efficient. But really, I was exhausted. I was underwhelmed by my results, and I was busy but not intentional, productive but not powerful. What changed everything was building a goal system that actually forced me to choose. So I got to get clear and to get strategic, to align my daily actions with my highest goals and not just the loudest demands in my life at the time. And that's what this streamlined petal does. It helps you design a system that brings your effort into alignment with your deepest values and that big vision. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel in your ability to filter out distractions and focus on what matters? If you're anything less than an 8, starting with a goal system is going to change the way that you operate forever. Okay, now that we've addressed scattered, let's talk about the next major myth that keeps us from organizing our lives, the one that keeps so many high achieving women stuck in the overwhelm. So the false belief here sounds like this: there's just not enough time and I need to do a better job of staying on top of everything. But the truth, you don't need more. You need structure that holds, as I've already mentioned. And here's what I specifically mean. Most ambitious women like you aren't struggling because of laziness or poor discipline or even lack of effort or motivation. You're overwhelmed because you're holding everything in your head, mental overload, every task, every deadline, every don't forget. And your brain was never designed to carry that load. Trust me, as a neuropsychologist, we're not meant for that type of mental clutter. So that's where this next petal comes in to address the overwhelm, which is just to automate. And this automate pedal is not about outsourcing everything or becoming a robot. It's about building systems that support you so that you can stop feeling like you're managing chaos every day. And inside this pedal, we're going to focus on 3 foundational structures. The first one is task management, so nothing falls in between the cracks. The second one is time and energy management, and this is so you can protect your flow and get more done in less time. And then the third one is going to be your business and career systems, and this is really so your business can grow without you being the bottleneck. And I want to share the specific systems I use for each of these 3 foundations in this automate pedal. For my task management system, I use my COPE method in my Notion second brain. I immediately capture every task, reminder, or idea in my Notion second brain every time something pops into my head. So no matter how small, I capture it immediately. That's the C. Then in my weekly review is the O for organize. I sit down and look at everything I've captured, sort it neatly into clear, manageable categories using the PARA method. Next is the P for prioritize. I process everything in my inboxes, my task inbox and my physical inbox, and give it a clear priority and a due date. Then I end with engage. This is where I actively engage with this system through weekly planning and daily time blocking, which brings me to my time management system. This is where I use a couple different methods. The first one being my BBB method, where I'm booking my non-negotiables from my digital calendar to my weekly planner, batching tasks according to batch days, and then blocking my days and my daily planning pages with my 3-7 time blocking method. For the sake of time in this video, I won't dive deep into my time management system here, but what's key to know for yourself is to create a way of managing your time that creates containers for yourself, containers for your family, and containers for your work time. And then speaking of work, the last piece to this automate pedal are your business or your career systems if you're not a business owner. At the request of so many of my Systemize Your Goals students, this is something that I've added to my Systemize Your Goals Accelerator program that opens in a few weeks. And here are the main systems that I want you to implement in your business to get more organized and actually show up more consistently for your business. And I should mention, by the way, my Productive Boss Notion bundle includes not only my Notion second brain template, but also a robust business hub Notion template with all the systems set up for you. So if you want to plug and play what I'm about to teach you, it makes it really simple, because I know most busy business owners I talk to, they love the idea of systemizing their business and getting organized in their business, but they feel like they don't have the time to build these systems from scratch. It also comes with a thorough deep dive at you guys' request tutorial, so I will link that below for each of the templates that are in it, as well as a Notion 101 tutorial as well. So check the link in the description if you're interested in that. And let me quickly walk you through my organized business model. This is the blueprint I've been using to help entrepreneurs go from scattered to structured. So the first thing I have them build out in their business hub is their command center. This is going to be their guide. This is their CEO brain, or you can think about it as the cockpit of their business in a rocket analogy. This is where you define your long-term vision, quarterly goals, and you build your strategy system. It's also where your brand compass lives. So everything for your brand is stored in one easy place in this brand compass for easy actionability when you're creating assets, writing copy, and creating offers. At the center of this brand triangle is your hero. This is your customer avatar. So you will store all the copy information you have about your customer avatar, the brand story, their pain points, pleasure points, all the hero information. The first point on your brand triangle is your intellectual property, which is for infopreneurs like me. This is your unique framework, your philosophy. For e-commerce, this might be your unique product, innovation, design, or technology. For influencer businesses, this may be like your unique aesthetic or your U-coded framework. So inside this brand compass will also be information and things you can reference for your intellectual property, like your framework and your uniqueness. Basically, this is the place where you will continuously develop how you will be the sage to your hero. How will you help your hero accomplish what they need and solve their problems? The second point is your brand voice, and where you will use your brand copy manual to hone your brand voice, store customer voice hacking, and store copy swipes that resonate with your brand. And then the third point, where you're going to store your brand visuals, where you restore your brand board, your color hex codes, and your common brand visual assets. And I'm really a brand first type of girl, so I love all things branding and really recommend the book What Great Brands Do by Denise Lee Yan and Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And also check out Rory Vaden, who talks about personal branding. So if this is missing in your business, if we use the rocket analogy, we have to have that command system or you're flying blind. Without a clear guide, even powerful engines are going to crash. Next up is the engine room. This is what's going to give you power. This is where your systems live. So inside this engine room, firstly are your engine systems, where you have your attract system, so things like marketing, your convert system, sales systems, your deliver deliver systems, which is like your client experience, and your innovation systems to continuously improve your products and your business. Also in the engine room, you're going to have your fuel systems. And these are systems for how you manage your finances, like your cash flow system, your bookkeeping routine, and your team operation system. So like your onboarding for new hires, your meeting calendars, your team profiles, contact information if you have contractors, those types of things, and for people that work with you. This is where you'll have all those systems and house everything for your team. So the systems in this engine room, all of them, I recommend including a process maps, systems for each component of the process. So for example, your lead magnet database and an SOP with your attract system. So essentially you're going to map out how each of these systems work. And then within that process map, you're going to make sure that you systemize all the things that need systems within there. For example, your lead magnet database and an SOP of how to create lead magnets and the thank you page might live in your attract system. Okay, so let's move on to the last one, which is the launch pad. This is going to help you actually activate, engage everything from your command center and your engine room. This is the layer where all the strategy and structure is going to become habit. So inside of this launch pad, we have our task and routines, we have our SOPs and our resources, and we have our projects. All this integrated, by the way, with the second brain. So they're just filtered for your business systems if you're also using the second brain Notion template that I have. And I teach you in my program how to do this in your own system as well if you already have a second brain. So that way you have one hub, but when you go into your business hub, everything is filtered for your business projects, your business routines, your business habits, but it all lives within your second brain. So in our rocket metaphor, you can think of this launch pad as where the liftoff happens or it doesn't, because consistency doesn't just live in those big plans, those visions, it's in your weekly rhythms. And having this systemized, your launch pad with your routines, your projects, and your SOPs, things like that, is going to help you actually get things done and implement the vision that you have and the systems that you have in your engines. So let me make this practical for you. Let me tell you about what this looked like for a recent one-to-one client of mine. Camille was running a growing business. She was raising 2 kids like me and secretly feeling like a fraud. She had built success, yes, but at the cost of her peace, and her days were pure reaction mode. Tasks lived in a million different places. She constantly felt like she was forgetting something, and after just a few weeks of working together, we mapped out her core workflows, we centralized her task, and we built systems that actually matched her brain. The result, she reclaimed 13 hours in her week, which was huge for her, and she finally delegated without guilt. And in her words, not mine, she felt competent again. Because the problem wasn't her. Actually, when I think back of her, it was really just a lack of systems to match her capacity. So while all of this helped her felt competent again, she was already competent. She just needed the systems to feel that way and access that again. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how supported do you feel by the automation systems in your life right now? And if your score is below an 8, automate is where everything is going to start to shift for you. When you get those task management, time management, and business systems in place, all of this is going to help you go from overwhelmed to feeling more organized in your life. So far we've talked about being scattered and overwhelmed, but what happens when you do get things done, yet it comes at the cost of your peace, presence in your home, and your well-being? That's where this next myth creeps in, which is, if I want to be successful, burnout is just part of the deal. But here's the truth. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a red flag. You don't have to choose between being consistent in your goals and being present in your life. You can build rhythm that supports your ambition without leaving yourself or your family behind. So let's draw this out. I want to help you go from depleted to flow. And so that's what this next pedal is. It's the flow in our flourishing productivity system. And here's how we do it. The first one is our consistency system. So this is going to help you go not just from hustle, but to a well-designed disciplined habits that respects your energy and your time and help you be more consistent. And the most helpful part of this consistency system for me is my overwhelm recovery plan, where I use coping ahead to identify triggers and signs of burnout. And I have a plan for recovery devised ahead of time to either prevent burning out or to recover quickly. All right, so the next system is your grounding system. And this is practical self-care and home management routines that refill your cup and keep your life in order. This is what so many productivity gurus are leaving out. We're talking about the hacks, but we're not talking about, for most of us women, behind the scenes, making sure that you're showing up as the mom you want to be, taking care of your home in the way you want to be, of course with help from our partners. But I don't see many men productivity gurus talking about this system. And it's not just your home management system that keeps you grounded, but it's also taking care of yourself. And a tool I have for this is my Notion Notion home management template, which I dove deep into in my recent workshop earlier this year. But what helps actually implement this are my weekly non-negotiables. These are those weekly routines that keep me and my family afloat. They're non-negotiables. So those are really important. And then the third system here is your joy system. And in this system are tools for living with more joy, burnout prevention, and overcoming limiting beliefs that sometimes get in the way of us being able to flow and burn us out in the background. So now, as a psychologist, this is my wheelhouse and so important for me because I do live with OCD and my symptoms spike when I'm not feeling my best. A very simple evidence-based system I use and I teach to maintain joy is to do what I call MAPS each and every day. This includes mindfulness, appreciation, pleasure, and self-compassion or self-care. Mindfulness for me is doing my devotional prayer, meditation in my early morning routine. Appreciation is a simple gratitude practice with my husband at the end of the night. Pleasure is usually baked into my evening routine with a good book or mindful coloring. And then self-care is my wellness and movement routines each day, along with things like therapy. And let me show you how this actually changed everything for one of my clients. Natalie, who's given me permission to share this, was doing all the things. She had a full client roster, parenting toddlers, managing a home, and feeling like she was always one meltdown away from breaking down. She came to me saying, I'm tired of feeling like I'm dropping the ball in my personal life because of work. And she actually approached me before I started even offering one-to-one services publicly this year. And we worked together to build routines that prioritized her peace and her family first. We introduced structure in her home life. We created buffers in her schedule and built a discipline system that helped her show up consistently without white knuckling through it, which was leading to her feeling depleted. And then 3 months in, her business was still growing, which to her credit, she was doing before, but a hard way. But her home now was also flowing smoothly and she was waking up with energy instead of dread, because when you honor your need for flow, everything else just gets better. Your consistency, your joy, your relationships, and your results in your career and in your business. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how supported do you feel in sustaining your energy, your peace, and your consistency week to week? If you're stuck in burnout cycles and feeling like you're always running on empty, this pedal right here going from depleted to flowing is going to be your turning point. So look into these systems if you need some help with that, and let's move on to the next pedal. Okay, this final shift, this is the one that addresses the feeling of being stuck even when everything looks successful, right? We've addressed the chaos of being scattered, the pressure of overwhelm, and the exhaustion of depletion, but there's one more myth high achieving, ambitious women often carry a lot and they carry it quietly, which is maybe this is as good as it gets. You've built some success, you're grateful, but lately this is kind of when you're starting to feel like you're just going through the motions. There's this subtle stagnation and a voice whispering to you, who are you to want more? But here's the truth. Wanting more doesn't make you greedy, it makes you ready. You are allowed to evolve. In fact, it's necessary because success isn't just about maintaining what you've built. It's about becoming. So that is the power of this evolve pedal. And here's what evolution looks like inside a system, which I suggest implementing on a yearly basis. The first one is reflection. So you don't just keep moving, you grow wiser with every step. The second one is optimization. And this is where you audit and refine your system so they can keep up with the woman that you're becoming. And the third one is to dream bigger once you've reflected and optimized. Because your next level self needs a next level blueprint. And that's where Dream Bigger comes into play. Maya, who was actually my first client in my official Systemize Your Goals accountability coaching, was successful on paper. She had a great income, growing business, beautiful family, but she told me, I feel like I'm repeating the same year on a loop. And what we discovered was that her systems were kind of outdated. They reflected who she used to be, not who she was becoming. So we worked to realign her systems with her current capacity, her current desires, and her new purpose that she was walking into. And as we cleared space for this next level of success, her excitement began to come back. She told me that her work started to feel more fresh. She made bold moves. She reclaimed her sparkle. And what I've found is that when you're stuck, it's rarely because you're doing something wrong. It's because your old systems can't hold your future self. So on a scale from 1 to 10, how aligned do your current systems feel with the version of you that you're growing into? If you've been dimming your light or coasting inside your comfort zone, it's time to evolve, and it's time to evolve on purpose. Now that you've seen all 4 petals, let's remind ourselves what happens when you combine them all. When you combine streamline, automate, flow, and evolve. That's where quantum leaps start to begin. And this is what it means to flourish. So when all 4 petals of the flourishing productivity system come together, something powerful happens in the center. Like we talk about, you unlock that dream life, your quantum leap. And those intersections, again, that's where the magic happens. That's where you do less and achieve more. You have consistent productivity, you have meaningful momentum, and you have that refined vision that grows with you. And hey, if you want to work with me directly to implement these systems for yourself in just 90 days, be sure to get on the waitlist, which is linked below. I will only have a limited number of spots, so be sure to get on the waitlist if you want to grab a spot first. The last time that I opened up spots to work with me directly, I didn't even get to share it with my entire list because spots filled up just from the waitlist folks alone. So be sure, if you are even curious about working with me, to click on the link below. If you want to dive deeper into the business systems that I shared, I teed up a workshop that I did recently called Productive Boss for you to watch next. Cheers to planning, manifesting, and enjoying your dream life. Namaste.